Back tonight on In Focus, Supreme Court of Appeal Judge President Samaai expected to take the hot seat before the Judicial Service Commission for her final interview for the position of Deputy Chief Justice. She's the only candidate shortlisted for the post. Samaai previously said she should not be considered merely because she is a woman, but the decision should be based on merit. For more on this, we're joined now by Women's Legal Center Director, Advocate Seehaam. Samaai. Advocate Samaai, good evening and thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on In Focus. I mean, the position of Deputy Chief Justice of the country has been, I suppose, acted upon recently by a woman. Was done incredibly well there. It wouldn't be the first time that seat is occupied by a female, but this time I suppose it would be a little bit more permanent. Why is that significant?
Well, it is significant because the position of the Chief Justice, in all probability, will only be for 2 years. And we all know in February there was also a very strong recommendations for Judge Maya. She has a very strong record of administration as well as legal mind. But our strength also lies within the SCA, where under her term there has been much transformation within the SCA. And I think those are all important factors that we need to be able to look at, that she will hopefully become the next Chief Justice.
Yeah. Now, Advocate Samaai, a question has been asked. How do we get more women into the system, and why do they continue to fall through the cracks? I mean, you yourself are studying law, you are in this particular profession. Why in your sense, do we see women legal practitioners falling through the cracks? Because clearly there is no shortage of women in this particular space.
Well, you're correct. I mean, what does the numbers show us? We all know that there's only 54% of females and 46% of male law students coming through the profession. That is more than 8,000. So total of law students. But if you look at the throughput, if you look at what happens within the particular profession, it's notable that there is a low number of women who reach the pinnacle of their legal seniority, including senior partnerships at law firms, senior advocates, magistrates, as well as a number of women that even enroll in law school, as well as those that is at the actual judiciary. What we've also seen in the judiciary, that there has been a steady increase in magistrates. However, more needs to be done because it's still lower than 50%. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of barriers still within the profession, whether or not we speak about sexual harassment, whether or not we speak about the wage gap, whether or not we speak about a range of access to work, access to fees, and just general empowerment of women within the profession remains a major challenge. But we have seen that Judge Maya has pushed through the glass ceiling, and it's very important for us to see transformation happening before us, because she has shown in terms of her broad legal trajectory and where she comes from, and the work that she has done within the various progressive organizations. She has a broad commitment for gender transformation. But I also think that it's important that we should support women like Judge Maya, who is in a very powerful position and requires a huge amount of support from organizations like the South African Women Lawyers, etc., to be able to ensure that she can, just navigate through the broad patriarchal systems within the legal profession.
Yeah. The first woman Deputy Chief Justice to the Apex Court narrative. Do you think it helps in that regard towards changing perceptions in the system?
Well, I have to say that South Africa is actually behind in terms of its chief justices and in terms of women. We are also behind in terms of the number of women in terms of the judiciary, whether or not in Zambia, etc. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, even though South Africa believes that a lot of, broad legislative changes have been brought to ensure that there is transformation. We still have a far way to go. We still don't have, the first female chief justice. And we still need to also if we want to lead within the region, we need to ensure that we need to take Section 174(2) of the Constitution serious in relation to gender and race transformation, and to be able to ensure that the constitutional imperative that's applicable not only in terms of the appointment of judges, but also in terms of all structures, institutions, and levels of the legal profession. And we need to be able to ensure that the appointment of female judges, now that we've seen over the past 30 years, it's been a bit slow. But we need to be able to ensure that there's urgency, and we need to push urgency in relation to transformation of the nomination of women in leadership position. But we also know that even though we do put women in leadership position, the environment that they operate in requires a lot of changes, etc. And we need to be able to support them in their leadership positions as they move forward. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We still need to continue and investigate gender discrimination, of different appointment processes. We need to be able to investigate reasons for maybe disparities in wage, in terms of appointments, and just opportunities that is given for women within the legal profession, whether or not it's acting positions, whether or not it's training. And one of the key issues is that Judge Maya was also key in the SAJAY, which is the broad training program of judicial officers at the Office of the OCJ. And it's important that we continue training women legal professionals to ensure that they become judges through providing acting positions for them.
Now, the accolades that have been heaped upon her include turning the appellate court into one of the most efficient. Now, the Chief Justice has indicated that, of course, he's willing to work with whoever comes into the position of Deputy Chief Justice. Do you think, even though she would be playing the role of Deputy Chief Justice, the court will still benefit from her leadership?
Well, of course, I do think the roles are different. However, if the Chief Justice, we all know the Chief Justice is not available, that she will then, step into that particular position. And she has international as well as regional experience. She was quite involved in legal issues in terms of BRICS, etc. She's represented South Africa. And I think that even though the roles are constitutional, I would think different, there is obviously synergy in terms of the two positions.
Advocate Samaai, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. That's Advocate Samaai there. She's with the Women's Legal Center. She is the director there, giving us her views then on that interview that we'll all be keeping our eyes on. It's happening tomorrow. Judge President of the court, Judge President Maya, will be interviewed for the position of the Deputy Chief Justice. Now,